Hi, let's have a look at Ankr, and let's not just look at technical analysis, something we always do on this channel. Let's also look at the fundamentals, at the project of Ankr. I know it's a fairly technical product, so it's not necessarily very easy to understand for non-technical people, but I've got a background in IT and I've used the Ankr product. So I will try to explain this in layman's terms so that in the end you can decide if an investment in Ankr makes sense for you. But first things first, this is Ankr, ticker symbol ANKR, currently at 11 cents. The token has been trading sideways for the last year, most of the time. And we are looking at market rank 101 with a market cap of a little bit under 1 billion. Now, before we look at the charts and at the technical analysis, where we look at the US dollar chart or the Bitcoin chart, so Ankr measured in Bitcoin or Ankr measured in Ethereum, before we do this, let's look at the product and understand the actual value add, the actual service that Ankr provides. So that's the website. It might be quite confusing. In the end, to summarize this up, Ankr makes it easy for developers of decentralized applications to integrate with various blockchains. So by using the Ankr service, you can both receive data and submit data to the blockchain easily. So say you're a developer and you want to build the next coinmarketcap.com, right? How do you get this price data of a certain token, right? How do you get the data to plot this chart? Or when you've got, say, for example, a DeFi application where you stake your tokens, you unstake your tokens, you can simply click on the website, right? And then your MetaMask pops up and you can interact with the blockchain on that website. The technology under the hood that enables this interaction with the blockchain, it's very often Ankr. And this is how it works. When you log into Ankr, you can create an API. An API is simply something like a connection to another computer. So when you open up a website, you get all the information in HTML, right? You can read the text, look at the pictures, etc. But when you've got an application and you want to get information from another system, when your system has to get info from another system, this other system has to talk to yours, right? And this talking between systems happens with APIs. So there's different formats how these APIs can communicate with one another. It can be, for example, with JSON, it can be with SOAP. There's all kinds of different ways how the systems can talk to one another. And there's also different methods to connect to one another. So let's not get too technical, but this is basically what Ankr here allows. You can select the blockchain that your application needs to interact with, right? So for example, if you want to build a DeFi application that uses Avalanche, or if you want to get the recent price data of a decentralized exchange on Binance Smart Chain, then you deploy your API here in Ankr. And what you then do is, you can see a usage over here, but when you integrate, what you do is you put these endpoints into your code of your backend of the website, right? So you can either connect via HTTPS, so each time you need information or you submit information, you just make a request, you ping the server, or you can connect directly with a WebSocket. So you stream data back and forth automatically. So say, for example, when you open up a WebSocket with that API on Ankr and you want Ankr to notify you whenever a swap happened on a decentralized exchange, then this connection, this WebSocket connection, it will send you the data automatically to your application. So this is what Ankr does. This is the service they provide. And the way they make money is simply by charging you if you need more requests per day, right? So when you've got a very popular decentralized application that uses the blockchain, then you're very likely running out of the request quota over here and you have to pay a monthly fee depending on how busy your project is. Now that's one way to use it, right, via API. Another way to use Ankr, that's the second product, I haven't used that yet, is to create a node. So for example, here in the market, we can see that you can deploy a full node or a validator node on a particular blockchain. And why would you want to do this? Because with a full node, with a full Bitcoin node, for example, you now have the entire blockchain at your fingertips, right? So if you want to make analysis on blockchain data, if you want to look at, for example, how many transactions have been performed, how busy is the blockchain, all of these kind of things, then having a full node makes a lot of sense. And setting this up by yourself, like buying the server hardware and installing all the software and getting this set up is quite a bit of a pain, and Ankr does this for you simply for a monthly fee. So in this regard, it's kind of like comparable to AWS, right? Where you can just click a button or two on AWS, on Amazon Web Services, click a button, you get a new server spun up by Amazon, and you can use that to deploy, say, your website on. So Ankr is kind of like an AWS for the blockchain, if you want to really, really dump this down. Now, why have I used this? Because I toyed around with building a cryptocurrency trading bot. So there are trading bots that are offered, say, by KuCoin, for example, right? But the problem is you're using the KuCoin platform and you always have the third-party risk. But if you want to stay completely decentralized, if you only want to use DEXs, only decentralized exchanges, you don't want to use KuCoin, you don't want to have third-party risk, KYC, all these nasty things, then you have to build this by yourself. And it's actually not that hard to do that. A very, very nice first introduction in case you are, say, a JavaScript developer or you know some basics of programming. A very nice introduction is here. This video, 14 minutes by Coding with Leiff. I will put the link of that video also in the video description here. This gives you basically an exact example of how to monitor decentralized exchanges for current prices, how to submit a transaction to the blockchain, all of this. So if you have ever done any kind of coding, you should be able to follow this to a certain degree and then be able to use Ankr and to maybe build your own cryptocurrency trading bot. So this video is a very nice introduction into all of this. Okay, so that's the very basic idea of Ankr. I hope this helps a lot. Let's also look at the charts and then also finish this up with another discussion of some fundamentals around the economics of the whole business model. So first of all, this is the US dollar chart, right? And we did trade sideways for a while, which isn't necessarily that great given that since beginning of last year, we are pretty much in an altcoin rally, right? Bitcoin dominance, let's have a look at this. Bitcoin dominance since beginning of last year fell from 72% all the way down to now 39.5%. So Bitcoin became less important as a fraction of all of crypto. The altcoins, they are rallying and they're rallying continuously. And Ankr was able to profit from this at the very beginning of last year. But since March, we've been pretty much sideways, right? No new highs. And so the potential risk in terms of US dollars is 53% and the potential gain is 67%. Now, I don't really like to look at the US dollar chart that much because the reason why you get into an investment such as Ankr is because you're expecting outperformance, right? You don't just want to get crypto exposure. You want to outperform the safe bets. You want to outperform the Bitcoins and Ethereums of this world. So let's look at the relative performance to Bitcoin. And this looks even worse, right? So this is a pretty clear sideways trading range here in Bitcoin. One might argue that we are even slightly trading down somewhat, right? It's not that clear that this is still a sideways trading range. And this becomes even more clear if you compare this to Ethereum. So this is now the ugly chart over here. After the launch, we have seen a very strong underperformance versus Ethereum, right? 81%. We've seen this multiple times. This is a lot of volatility to digest. We also saw the recent outperformance, right, since beginning of the year, where all of the alts, they gained against Ethereum and Bitcoin. But since then, there isn't much to gain. This is not necessarily a pretty chart. You want to see outperformance versus the safest of the cryptocurrencies, right? Why take on so much volatility, so much ups and downs, at least over the long term, if you don't get compensated for this? Of course, trading is another story, but long-term holding, why take on that much risk if you can get basically the same performance by just having Bitcoin? Now, that being said, if you want to trade this, if you want to time this, you can use, for example, a moving average, right? So we just add the moving average over here in trading view. We zoom a little bit in and make this a bit more visible. And then what we want to do is we want to time the market in a way that we buy whenever the price is above the moving average and we sell whenever the price is below. And we don't want to get a lot of these failed signals, right? Where we buy and sell and buy and sell. The idea is you want to be in when times are great and you want to be out when times are not as great. And you want to find the correct moving average duration that represents the volatility of this asset the best. And so let's just try to do exactly that. Stay away from this volatility, but still segregate the bull market from the bear market. And unfortunately, the volatility is pretty high. So we have to go pretty long on that moving average. So 75 looks fine. We did have a bit of a problem here and a bit over here. Maybe we want to make this even longer, but it doesn't really improve the failed signals that much if we increase the duration. So we rather make it as short as possible, because then if we do turn bullish, we also enter the market somewhat earlier, right? So maybe 75, somewhere around there, does make sense. But note, we do have a few bad signals, right, where we go in and out, and this might not be necessarily a great thing, especially regarding transaction costs. But this would be one potential approach where you could avoid being in the market when we go down, say these 37%, or maybe even 52%. Of course, you're missing out on some of the positive action, but that's in the end the price you pay for mitigating risk. And so right now we are pretty much fighting with the positive momentum, right? This does potentially look positive. We might be seeing somewhat of a floor over here, right? The potential risk versus Ethereum is 19%. The potential reward is maybe 44%. Or if it goes really, really positive, 270%. Now, why did Ankr underperform that much when it's actually being used in the overall community? Now, one might argue this could be due to tokenomics. I don't know enough regarding the tokenomics of Ankr. So far, we are at 82% circulating supply, which is positive. It doesn't look like a lot of additional inflation will hit the market. That's good. But one problem might be the progress on all of this. Maybe this has something to do with the current progress of the project. Maybe the team got somewhat complacent. When you click on I'm a crypto investor, what you actually see is nothing around the Ankr token. You mainly get information around staker.io, which then redirects you to stakefi.ankr.com. Basically a platform to stake your cryptocurrency and to earn staking rewards on your wallet. It's kind of like a platform for staking delegation, right? You don't have to set up your own node. You can use Ankr's node and delegate your crypto in order to earn staking rewards. So that's what's mainly advertised here. And this is probably the point where more fundamental research makes a lot of sense in case you are interested in buying Ankr, not just for a quick technical trade, but for the long term, in case you want to know if this outperforms Ethereum over the long term. Because in the end, the question is around the tokenomics, around the use case for Ankr. We have looked at the APIs, right? They simply charge in US dollars. You can't just pay in Ankr tokens, at least to my knowledge. That's not what's being advertised on the Ankr website. So the direct use case of the Ankr token isn't yet clear to me. And it would be interesting to find that out. Maybe it has something to do here with this staking platform. That would be something worth investigating. And so the traction on this would also be very interesting, because when you look at the details of this YouTube video here, it doesn't have too many views, right? 2,600 views. It has been published in December 2020. So this is not a recent launch, but this is what's being advertised as the second call to action here on this main Ankr website. So this really needs more investigation. This needs a further thorough look. But for the time being, for a short-term trade, this might make sense. The momentum is picking up. The attention on the token is pretty low. And you do want that, right? You want very few people to look at a token when you buy it. The exact opposite is to buy whenever trading volume is very high, right? There is a correlation between trading volume and price. So when trading volume is elevated, the price tends to be elevated. When trading volume goes down, attention goes away from a token, then the price also tends to decline. And we see this repeatedly with Ankr as well, right? High trading volume, high price, low trading volume, price declines. And right now, the trading volume is not particularly high. And that's positive. So you would be buying while nobody is watching, and you could potentially be in for the next run up when attention picks up again. So that's positive. The price also stopped bleeding against Ethereum in the recent past. It's rather short-term increasing. That's also positive. For a very long-term hold though, make sure you get a grasp on the tokenomics of the Ankr token and maybe have a look at the staker.io website. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out the premium membership, the Bitcoin Strategy premium membership, to be found at thebitcoinstrategy.com. Link is also in the video description. We've got a private Telegram channel where you can ask me any questions. We've also got daily market updates. and tutorials on technical analysis and portfolio management. Feel free to also like this video. It will help the channel grow. That means a lot to me. And of course, don't forget the subscribe button. I publish videos regularly. Last but definitely not least, we've got a public Telegram channel. You can simply find us by searching for Bitcoin Strategy Channel within the Telegram app. We are around 1,500 people right now. See you next time. Bye-bye.